and they're basically a group of like hacker netrunners, and you have a chip in your brain that
Alright, let's see if everything is going alright. Looks like it.
But to find her, you have to break into this mall facility for them.
Let's hope fucking internet stays alive this time around.
Actually being fed really good tech from these other people, and the animals are basically like roid juicers. Like they're these crazy hulked out dudes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
God, I'm so excited about this game.
Yeah, and then the mission itself, we went through stealthily, but they did this really cool thing where we went through the entire thing as like a Netrunner hacker stealthily, and then they stopped and they were like, okay, we're gonna jump back as a strength character. And then they went through that same section as a strength character, where instead of like hacking a door to get through it, they would like rip it open.
Okay.
And at one point,
hey, that's what I was talking about too.
To like fight for you, they just ripped it off the base and used it as a gun.
That rules. I'm getting some sort of Deus Ex vibes here because I remember when they were promoting, what was it, Human Revolution? First.
Yeah, I got it sorted out. It took a little longer just because I made food and ate real quick, and yeah, just reset the router and everything's fine. So I think my settings on OBS are sucking my bandwidth up. I don't know. I need to look into it. Like I said, new computer, still trying to get everything fucking set up. My last computer, everything was perfect, so. But yeah, with that, stream's back up. Obviously, you guys are here. Fucking glad to see you again. Anybody watching this after the fact, there was a video before that was supposed to be part of this stream. Had some internet problems, so make sure to check that out. We had a whole conversation for like an hour about Cyberpunk, pretty much, but a bunch of other stuff, so it's definitely worth checking out. And we're going to be watching the fucking actual gameplay that they're going to show here very soon, in like 10 minutes, so stay tuned. Yeah.
I feel like that's sort of a nice kind of counterbalance to the amount of gameplay we saw in the last demo.
Oh god, I'm gonna be fucking tired. I woke up at like 6 a.m. and I never wake up that early. Oh, it's predestined, dude. This is meant to happen.
Would like whip it at people and like arms would fly off. Like
when's the last time you watched Johnny Mnemonic, dude?
Long time ago.
Okay, you should probably go watch Johnny Mnemonic because it's about Keanu Reeves having a chip in his head that he doesn't want there, and he fights a guy who has a garrote wire made out of lasers.
Well,
so,
there you go.
Yeah, everybody go home and read some William Gibson, please. Watch Johnny Mnemonic.
That will also let you hack from afar. So if you whip it into somebody, you can like you saw in the
talked about coke and fucking bitches. Check it out, y'all. We did talk about some of that, yeah. We absolutely did. It was a smaller part of it, but
right, and just like picked up a broken bottle and was just like slicing a dude with it. There was also a boss fight at the end of this encounter where it was like this person who just had this huge hammer, and they had a weak point on their back where it was like what was feeding them their like roid juice, and so you had to like dodge around their hammer and then like shoot that point, and once that was broken, they couldn't pick up the hammer anymore, so they had to like fight you a different way, and this was really cool.
I don't remember that. I remember at the very end of the demo I watched, there was a dude in a garage who was like, I think it ended there as soon as he showed up, so maybe this is the extended version that they watched. I know they saw a longer demo than I did.
Is like defending the hack, and a bar filled up on the top of the screen, and they were like, if that bar fills up and they hack you, you're gonna die. So you have to finish this fight before the hack is done. And like,
why is IGN playing this footage? It was E3 2019.
So obviously a lot of people were really impressed by the demo last year, but there's still that level.
I think they're just trying to fill the fucking the time.
This was more grounded, more of like a playable kind of.
My ultimate takeaway from this demo was it was not nearly as blow me away exciting as last year. It wasn't like oh my god, this is incredible.
Last year was a complete surprise.
Exactly. This wasn't knocking my socks off or anything, but it did 100%. It just felt like an actual game now. It felt like, okay, I can see how
definitely.
I play this. I can see how I go through this world. I understand how I take quests. I understand how I go to stores and buy things. Like they showed off.
Oh, I love that. I love someone holding a car up as cover and shooting around it.
A lot of people pointed out the graphics in the demo last year were just like unrealistically impressive. I know people have concerns about sort of this getting downgraded. Do you see this?
That happens with every game though. Like every single game ever when they first show it off is going to be the best that they got. They're going to turn certain things down to make sure it's optimal and runs on most things possible, because then they can make the most amount of money, because it's not a charity.
They said there's no loading screens unless you do.
Although sometimes they really overdo it and they'll take it back. Like Watch Dogs, when it first was shown, looked insane compared to what it looked like when it came out.
But you saw a motorcycle?
There was a motorcycle. The motorcycle was the red motorcycle that's in the
Yep.
collector's edition, actually.
Oh my goodness.
He was riding that.
Okay. You
Yeah.
know what else has a red motorcycle? Akira, a cyberpunk classic. Dear God, I'm excited about this game. Tom, thank you for telling me about it, and also, you for seeing it. I want to go see it. Hopefully I get to see it. We're seeing lots of games here at E3 2019, so stick around. I love Cyberpunk, and I love Tom Marks.
What's up, everybody? Destin
Okay.
here at Gamescom 2019. Matt Purslow is joining me tonight.
Hi there.
Guess what game we're going to talk about?
I think it might be Cyberpunk 2077.
It is definitely Cyberpunk 2077. You're correct. You won. So what we're
That almost looks like the exact same setup. It probably is what they had at E3. It's because they're showing a certain state of the game at the time. You can't run what PC can run at max on console. Anthem was a different story. That was fake footage. Oh yeah, 100%. That's that is more of a rare instance though. Sometimes they do just show you shit that's not actually going to be in the game. But a lot of times, while they're tinkering around with the game, kind of like what you're saying, it's a different build. Like fucking, they'll have everything maxed out because you're presenting a game. You want people to get excited, so they will want to buy your game. It doesn't make sense to at that time during that build turn things down. You want to look as good as possible. Drives hype. It's just if you overdo it and then you have to backpedal a bit when you release the game, people will notice and they'll think they're getting cheated. But that's a lot of console mentality anyway, because on PC, the PC experience is so different per person, because PCs, you know, everyone's got a different PC that can run things at different graphics, whereas like on console there's a standard. So if it's amazing looking and then it comes out and it looks like shit or way less than the original on everything, people wonder what's up. What's up, guys? Best regards from UK. What's up, how do you say that? Thomas? Tamaz? Barwick?
Being able to do that is like, oh wait, but can I create a build that allows me to do both? And I'm looking forward to trying all of that out.
Yeah, the strength build, he like rips a turret and takes out the gun.
I'm getting nervous. My anxiety's going up right now. Just fucking excited.
The class that we're fighting in the stealth infiltration mission.
Well, animals that should be fighting this.
Let's see, we got people. We got people on Mixer, YouTube. No Twitch, apparently. Poor Twitch. What's up, Jeremy?
For sure. I have to ask you, you know, Keanu Reeves was a big reveal at E3 2019. What do you think of that character and his implementation? He, of course, plays Johnny Silverhand, and he's like a voice mirror. Do you like that? Are you enjoying it?
So I think kind of like Johnny Silverhand is such an important element of the tabletop game, and so it's nice that he's in there, and I think it's great that they've chosen Keanu. I'm hoping that he's not too much of an overpowering presence, because the idea of just having
How's it?
effectively Neo from the Matrix just keep turning up.
3 minutes, y'all.
From what is a game that doesn't
Oh
have
shit,
all
Jeremy's
the
hopping over.
elements to it. The way that
Hopping
they
over to the
treat
dark
it's kind of
side.
almost like a narrator for you.
How is the audio?
It's even like a Jiminy Cricket that sits in your head that allows you to sort of like, should you be doing this? Should you be doing that?
Yays, you're back. I am back. Everything should be running fine. I got away with like 2 hours earlier, and then my router decided to shit the bed. I'm gonna support Twitch's thought mentality.
It's one of those things where like I've been a PC gamer all my life, and I've always
Yes,
invested
that
money
is
into a PC.
that is the
So
official
I don't
stance
feel necessarily the need, but
that we
I'm
have.
fascinated to see the idea of like, can I just stop buying upgrades for my PC and just have a Stadia package? If Cyberpunk runs as well as it should do on the massive
I don't
data
care
centers
about
that Google has,
fucking
no
Stadia,
latency
man.
to my personal devices,
I can't hear them too low. Okay, hold on a second.
what happens there?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Cyberpunk, I want that on my PC. I'm definitely, so like I can upgrade my PC. And NVIDIA also revealed that they're going to be adding ray tracing.
Oh,
to
you
the
know
game,
what?
So I want to be able to
lowered
utilize
this.
those special effects and just enhance lighting abilities.
And I'm
that
still
those
louder, I
cards
think.
have.
Okay.
I know this more than anything. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game I am going to know life. It will be the game I play every day, probably for a month. Are you going to do the same?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is it's coming out at a period where the month before we'll have had like Watch Dogs, we'll have had the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh
feels
my
like an
God,
amazing
Final Fantasy
period
VII was
for
so
games,
good.
but I can see that Cyberpunk is going to be the one that makes you put everything down. It's like, this is the game for the year, and I'll be surprised if anything
What's up,
turns
Michael?
that is more impressive next year. But hey,
What's up,
it's an
Games
amazing
for
time for games.
Days?
Maybe that game will turn up. Who knows?
Of course, thank you so much, Matt. Time will tell if Cyberpunk ends up being that game.
Bet
For
if
everybody,
cows.
I think we already know the answer. But for more on all things Cyberpunk 2077, keep it
Holy
right here at
shit, I'm
IGN
stoked.
and
You guys excited?
keep us at Gamescom 2019.
Ready now?
Fucking A.
Whoa, hey, easy. Mr. Hansen, am I right for the job? Okay, I'm in.
Few have gone through to the other side.
Let's do this.
Yeah, we game of something for sure. Easily. Meh. Oh, I can't wait to get the fucking collector's edition. Whew. Okay.
Welcome, my name is Holly and I'm the UK Head of Communication here at CD Projekt Red, and I will be your host for today as we take a deep dive into
Let's do this.
Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to be showing you a video with new gameplay and new gameplay mechanics, and afterwards I'll be joined by 3 of our developers, Miles, Philip and Pavel, as we take a closer look at some of the things you're going to see and hopefully answer some of your questions. On behalf of everybody at CD Projekt Red, we're incredibly excited to share this new look at Cyberpunk 2077 with you.
Hey V, you alright?
Damn, Psycho.
Let's do this.
You guys are fucking harsh. She's scary.
Give out with this shit.
Spyco.
Okay. What now? Barry. Johnny.
You Barry? On a plancher.
Oh, it's so cool.
Where are we?
Our BBS, Data Fortress. Bridge to the deep net. Beyond the unknown.
It's very Matrixy like.
Beyond the black wall.
Welcome to the Cyberpunk 2077 2019 Deep Dive video. In last year's gameplay reveal, we showed you our vision for the world of Cyberpunk 2077, its quests, and visual design. This year, we'd like to give you a peek at some of the playstyles you'll be able to adopt as your character progresses through the story.
Here goes nothing.
You're about to see sequences embodying 2 distinct approaches to playing Cyberpunk. We'll show you a strong solo build, that is, a character who focuses on employing blunt force and taking instant action, and a Netrunner build, a playstyle taking frequent advantage of stealth tactics, hacking, and battlefield control achieved using malicious software. Additionally, you'll learn more about Pacifica, one of the game's districts, 2 gangs, the Animals and the Voodoo Boys, and you'll see glimpses of Johnny Silverhand, the digital construct who haunts our main character, V. A word of caution, given that the video covers a section of the game deep into the main storyline, we have edited the footage to contain as few spoilers as possible. Be aware that the gameplay as presented does reveal characters and locations you'll see while playing the game's main story arc, so watch at your own discretion.
Fair.
Where are we headed?
As Peralez's campaign promised, quote,
This way.
In this video, you'll experience a segment of a quest from the middle of the game. We're currently in Pacifica, one of Night City's 6 unique districts.
No Pacifica well.
Nah. You guys aren't exactly great at rolling out the welcome mat for outsiders.
It was designed to be a tourist hotspot within the city. As you can see, this didn't pan out. When uncertainty struck the global economy, investors pulled their funding, leaving most establishments unfinished. It's one of those places where expectations and reality collided, resulting in a heap of disappointment. Ongoing gang wars plague this part of the city. Outsiders don't come here if they don't have to. Even by Night City's standards, it's dangerous to those unfamiliar with it. Taking a casual stroll here would not be a good idea. A fast motorbike or armor-plated car would be the safer option. But places like this have their advantages. If you're in need of rare goods or illegal cyberware, Pacifica's bustling local markets are a good place to start your search. The Grand Imperial Mall is a whole other story.
Oh, just see all the clothes.
It was one of the last developments in Pacifica to lose its funding. Until recently it stood vacant, but now a gang called the Animals has moved in for reasons unknown.
Something's not going right for the big guy up top.
And that's what we need to learn in order to earn the trust of the Voodoo Boys,
Money,
the
baby.
Animals' rivals.
What the hell?
Could fucking tell me what you plan to do first.
You take job. You do what I say. So you jack in now.
Invent time travel, Jeremy.
Of the many gangs in Cyberpunk 2077, the Voodoo Boys are the most skilled at using the net.
You have now seen the Rizzo Agwe, our subnet.
Why? What for?
You are my vessel now. Through Agwe, I see what you see, hear what you hear.
This mysterious gang of highly skilled netrunners has close ties to the local Haitian community.
You are V? We have been waiting.
Haitians settled in Pacifica in the 2060s after natural disasters struck their island and forced them to emigrate en masse. The Voodoo Boys gang formed around this same time, though at a smaller scale. Now the gang
So much I'm
effectively
trying to
rules
take in.
Pacifica. The Voodoo Boys don't usually work with outsiders. Lucky for us, it seems they're prepared to make an exception this time.
Mr. Hand sent me. He said you got merc work needs doing.
Still, to earn their trust, we need to prove our worth. Placide, one of the Voodoo Boys' higher-ups, has offered us a mission. We need to infiltrate the Grand Imperial Mall, currently occupied by the Voodoo Boys' deadly enemy, a gang called the Animals.
2035 07. 3 seconds before, poof, the camionette. We try to learn where the camionette come from.
The Animals are not your normal gang. Their presence in Pacifica is suspicious. They value might above all else and wear melee combat implants to raise their prowess in combat. Their beverage of choice is juice, a potent strength and speed-enhancing concoction. As sought-after bouncers, they're usually dispersed throughout town. As skilled street-level business types, they've cornered the market in illegal substances and underground live-or-die prize fights. When they converge in one spot, it's for something big. It's then they appoint the fastest and strongest among them as their ad hoc leader. In this case, it's a woman named Sasquatch.
Said you wanted my bet.
Sasquatch.
No.
What a weird way to say
remember,
that.
you said no bone brain buffaloes on steroids. Afraid that's the cost of doing biz.
This is the tech Placide was talking about. It seems non-standard for the Animals. And this is where we come in. Getting to the van won't be easy, but we're more than qualified for the job, which we can complete in one of many ways.
That's my people.
The character creation in Cyberpunk 2077 is the kind you'd expect from a full-fledged RPG. You start by choosing your past, important because this unlocks special options at important story junctures. You also fully customize your character using a deep customization system that spans not only your look and style, but also your abilities. Cyberpunk 2077 does not feature fixed classes. Instead, it has a fluid class system that allows players to mix and match a wide range of abilities to suit their playstyles. You can create a strong solo character, a skilled netrunner, or any other hybrid class that you can imagine.
Oh, that's fun, cool.
Let's see how a solo play style in Cyberpunk 2077 might work. Solos prefer a direct approach. They use guns and might to get things done. So let's wreak some havoc.
Yeah, dude, I saw skill trees on my car.
With our enhanced strength, we can strip this turret of its weapons and give the animals a taste of their own medicine. This is how a player investing in solo abilities might live out their Terminator power fantasy. Enhanced strength lets us force open doors or grab enemies to use as human shields. We also gain access to powerful melee combat cyberware. So even someone as fast and strong as Sasquatch, the leader of this group of animals, is not impossible to beat for a solo.
Holy shit.
Sasquatch has a different game plan. She's out to jack in and hack us. Let's see how this plays out.
Ready for some fun? Proceed. What's going on?
Dude, the hammers, like, the sound effects too, like, make it sound so fucking heavy.
It's our choice if we want to finish her off or spare her.
Dude, no, the animation is
Cyberpunk,
really good.
Your rules. If you'd rather sneak around, hide, and strike from the shadows, no problem.
Especially in an open world game, to get that kind of
to get around obstacles or hack into enemy
visual
tech, to have
fidelity
it do the dirty work for you.
A lot of work.
Netrunning abilities mean hacking skills that let us use our cyber deck to breach access points. For this, we fill the buffer of our cyber deck with a string of instructions represented by these letters and numbers. Matching the instructions for basic access grants us control of devices connected to this network. The more instructions we match, the more control we gain over elements in the network. We can hack our way through in numerous ways. A quick hack may grant us control of the security camera. Another one should let us tweak the difficulty of the training bot to create a distraction.
Bop.
With our nanowire, we can even hack this guy's implants from a distance.
Yeah, I'm gonna want to play that way,
almost
probably.
Everything is connected to a local network.
Shit.
And
She
that
had some
means it can be
sculpted rock-like curves, like climbing a rock face.
Which brings us back to cyberspace. You don't get to do anything in the net unnoticed. There's always someone watching. It could be corpos, or even worse, it could be Netwatch. And that is exactly the case here.
Who is they? Netwatch. They're always out to fuck us.
Netwatch and the Voodoo Boys are like fire and ice. The first of these wants to maintain the old order and protect people from AI anarchy originating from beyond the Black Wall. The Voodoo Boys want to establish contact with the free AIs. They believe this will enable their boundless expansion on the net and grant them the upper hand over Netwatch. Netwatch sees this as the end of the world.
That
Both
fucking lore,
are right.
man.
Whoa, hey.
How you deal with the Netwatch agent is entirely up to you. Do we side with the gang? Choosing to be on Netwatch's bad side is never wise. But can we really trust the Voodoo Boys?
You set me up!
As you can see, we have many possible options. But in each case, we take a risk.
Think I'll just stick to my plan.
God, I love the animations. Everything's done so well. This is awesome because you can have way different gameplay every time, start a new game. That's what I'm saying. To have, like, to be able to go in one or the other is fucking awesome.
That didn't work out well. In the world of Cyberpunk, few things go as planned. An And that was just a glimpse of how complex the branching storyline in Cyberpunk 2077 can get. Every decision you make will have consequences. Your choices will shape how the world reacts to you and affect your relationships with those around you. One of those relationships is special. Ever heard of Johnny Silverhand, a rebel rocker boy who will be your companion throughout your adventure in Night City?
Come on, really think they give a rat's dick how you look?
Like everyone in Cyberpunk 2077, he has his own agenda. You'll decide if he'll be your ally or your enemy.
Agenda.
And that chip in your head, the one thanks to which Johnny lives inside your mind. Well, that's a story for another time.
Oh, it's his dude. Oh. I hope you can.
Welcome back. Now, following the deep dive, there is an awful lot to talk about. So I found
hope you can
three of
roam
the
streets
very
ass
best.
naked.
Oh, you're so happy. But I think just in case people aren't super familiar with Cyberpunk 2077, why don't you introduce yourself one by one so everybody knows who they're listening to?
Hey, I'm Miles. I'm one of the level designers at CD Projekt Red.
Hello, I'm Pavel,
That was pretty cool.
and I'm a lead of the Quest team, and it's a great
I'm glad I got
pleasure
to see
be
shit I
part
hadn't
of it.
seen.
So I'm
a lot
Philip,
of the,
and I'm one of
like,
the Quest designers, so I work
hang
really
with the
closely
voodoo.
with Pavel over here.
Thank you guys for being my my participants in this video. Let's get started because the last demo
Like the
we
ice bath
saw
and shit.
took place
I didn't
in
see that
Watson.
part.
This time we're
Yeah, it was
in
15
Pacifica.
minutes. It goes by
They're
fucking
very
fast.
different, and that's super important for Night City that it feels different. So what do you need to consider as a level designer?
Still kind
when
of sucks they
you're
didn't show
building
the whole
a place like
playthrough.
this?
We are
is that
diving
the
right into it.
Yeah,
the collector's edition
let's
thing?
go. People want to know answers.
Okay, I'm going. So
That's actually a lot
from
bigger
a
than I
level
thought it was
design
gonna
point
be.
of view, for us it's really important to create these districts, the 6 ones that we have in Night City, to be as different as possible without making it unbelievable, right? And we sort of orient ourselves around sort of how we approached, let's say, Skellige and
I've not seen the Monster Hunter World
Witcher 3,
Iceborne
so
trailer
we're
yet.
sort of aiming for a very noticeable difference. And this has multiple purposes, right? First off, we want to enhance the variety in the game, right? It would be kind
Yeah,
of
a lot of that
boring
was just
to
clips
have
of the
a lot
gameplay I
of the
watched,
same
except
throughout
for I
the
didn't
entire
see
city.
the fight with the
We
hammer.
have one cityscape, so we need to
Which is
create
really
this
cool. I
kind
wanna
of
see the whole thing.
variety, and that's actually a really fun creative process as well. And secondly, we need it as a navigational tool. That means that when you as a player move around the city, you should know where you are simply by looking around. And thankfully, there's a lot of lore that we can sort of dissect and make our own that helps us around, but we also add our own sort of twists to the whole thing, right? So in terms of Pacifica, we know that it's pretty fucked up place, if I can say so. And what I mean with that is that
Yeah,
it's
I
pretty
like
noticeable that
the
it's,
helicopter thing,
almost
just shooting into that
post-apocalyptic,
building.
right? The district has a rich history that caused it to basically fall into disarray after it was initially meant to become the city's crown jewel.
Iceborne gonna fail in a
tourism.
good way. I don't even know how
But
to
clearly,
interpret
you can see from
that.
footage that actually didn't quite work
What
out that
event
way.
is this?
And now you'll actually
Oh,
see
this
things
is,
like
PAX.
burning cars on the streets, right?
Fail in a good
And,
way. Is that 'cause Borderlands
it's
3?
very deserted, so
I'm
much unlike Watson
maybe not even
that
gonna
we
pick
showed
up
last
Borderlands
year
3
where
until it comes out on
streets are
Steam.
busting with people. Here there's way less.
I think I can wait.
Because it's simply a very dangerous place that you don't want to really go if you don't have to. And again, that's one of these things that once you enter the district...
Yeah, in the demo
or the
he's
rest of
sneaking
Night
around
City,
and you
you'll
hack
actually
the
notice
equipment
that,
he's
right?
using, and then it
of
drops
course,
down
all the
and murders
destruction
him.
going on,
And it's
and,
silent
all
because
of
he
the-
can't
yeah, I
yell.
mean,
So he's just
suffering,
sitting there choking.
Our favourite
and
thing.
violence, as it were.
So what kind of things are exclusive to Pacifica? Because you don't want people to just come for the quest and then leave and that's it. You want people to keep coming back to this district. So what can people find
Ooh,
there?
I like that. I like that question.
mean,
It's a good question.
This is what I meant when I said like it's a very fun process to think of these kind of things, because these sort of characteristics that we give the district directly sort of birth the things that you can find there, right? And amongst the destruction, you'll still find people living there, right? Pacifica is inhabited by a large Haitian community, and each district sort of has kind of dominant gang who has taken over there. In the case of Pacifica, that would be the Voodoo Boys. And unlike the Maelstromers that we saw last year, the Voodoo Boys are actually deeply ingrained within the community that lives there. And they actually, they're not your typical sort of street gang in the sense that they don't really bring a lot of gunpowder to fight themselves.
No, I agree 100% with the animations and attention to detail, which is something you expect from CD Projekt Red, but also
sort of
when you make an open world game, you typically
religion,
start
if you will. And,
holding back on that kind of
they have the
stuff because you
reputation
have
of
such a
being
big
the
task of
best
making a
Netrunners that you
world
can
that you
find
can
in
explore and
Night
stuff that you
City.
typically can't get that kind of
And
animation out of
it's
it.
a very cool gang.
They're doing it.
Our main protagonist,
I mean, you see
will
stuff like that
interact with
typically in a game like
several ways.
Uncharted
How?
or something
You'll have
because
to
it's more of a linear experience. You can put more work into the set
and,
pieces.
I mean,
but,
that's just one of many different ways you'll really.
Are you streaming on Twitch as well right now? I should be
as I
on
said,
everything
all
right
of these
now.
things together, the culture, the visuals, the architecture.
Yeah, I have 2 people watching on Twitch right now.
History, really.
10 on YouTube apparently, and
will be
2
very
on Mixer.
distinct to the district. At the same time, we're of course trying really hard to not make it feel disconnected, right? There's always a link. It should always be believable. That's one of the sort of core pillars that we build everything on. But this will make it for a very unique experience when you delve in adventure in this.
Yeah, I really want to play Borderlands 3 a lot because I love Borderlands,
the stories
but
that we'll be telling in this exact district, we
all my
always make sure
Borderlands
that it always fits
are,
to the
all my
environment,
saves
to
are on
what
Steam,
we want to build.
so I would
the
just
street
like
stories
to
that
have
you'll
that
find,
on
there's
Steam.
side quests in the main
And I
quest
can
that is
wait,
actually
especially with all the shit
placed
that's going
there.
on with
It always tells the
Gearbox
story
right
of the
now.
community of the people,
I'm
of the
curious to see
characters
what
that are living
happens.
there, and the Haitian community, right?
So I might just wait till next year till it comes out.
Actually in Night City because of the environmental changes that were happening in the world. Haiti is
I would say
actually completely
YouTube's more
flooded,
beneficial
and they
to
have
me just
left it.
because
They arrived to Night City to build
that's
the
where
district that
the
Miles just
community's
talked
at.
about, and
Twitch,
they
I mean, they're
were
both
left
beneficial.
out at the
I'm
moment
not
when
on
the
Twitch as much
corporations
as I'm
withdrawn
on
all the
YouTube.
funding from the Pacifica.
'Cause I'm releasing
they were
at least
left
2
there, and
episodes
they
a week
built their
on
own
YouTube.
community there, and they
whereas Twitch,
gave
you know,
the
whenever I
seed,
stream,
they become the seed,
I'm on there
for
as
all
well.
the stories that we are telling
But I'm an
there.
affiliate
so as a
on
player,
Twitch
when
as
you're
well,
like
so I
investing,
guess that
meeting all those
helps
characters
in that
and talking
sense.
to them, you actually find out and learn more about them, you know, through the quests.
Yeah, being able to rip
Perfect.
out
But
the
let's talk about
turret
the
is
more we
fucking
just
dope.
saw in the deep dive video
Very
because
disappointed. There's
that's not
no way that was 15 minutes of gameplay.
so how do you design
Well, it was a lot of
non-linear level?
talking,
You've got the building, you're thinking,
definitely.
right, well, the person
then
who's
some
playing on
gameplay.
their game, they might have a
I
more
loved
techie style
that
of playthrough,
point
but
though,
this
or that part,
person
because
might
what
wanna go
I
in all
watched
guns
at
blazing.
E3
How do you
was more
design
gameplay, which was
levels
awesome. But they
for all
didn't talk about it as much as they did in this
different
video, which is
playstyles?
really,
Anything's
really cool.
Yes, yeah, we
I'm more on
do give
Mixer,
the
but it's
player
a bit
lot of
buggy at the
different
moment on
tools
mobile.
to use
It
as
sucks.
he goes through a level.
Yeah, I
and
hopped
that
on
makes
Mixer. Looked pretty cool.
Designing these things quite complex.
I need to get my name changed
I
though,
must
because
say.
it's too
But,
confusing.
you know, just to sort of
That's my
understand our mentality,
Xbox Live
I
handle,
can actually, I'll attempt, and maybe you'll help me out with this one, to go back in our development. Well, sometime, and to really sort of, we came up with this example to sort of establish this kind of mentality that we wanted to have when we approached our level designs and the way we do our encounters, right? And the example was rather simple. The goal was for a player to to go from one room to another. But the main way to go from that one room to another would be sort of like a door.
If you're smart, you don't release a game
be it through
within
like a
like
scanner or a device. It doesn't really
the
matter
first
for the
or
example. Actually, going through this door
like
would
month
ultimately
after
result
the
in
month
the
that they
player
release
losing his
Cyberpunk.
weapons.
There's like a 3-month
But the
window you
task
should
was
probably
to
be backing
actually
off
kill
from
a person on
because
the
you're going
other
to
side
lose
of that
sales no
door,
matter
right?
what.
Now, we use this sort
Not
of
everybody
example
can afford to buy
sit
every
down and
game.
think, okay,
Not everybody's going to want to have
how
their
will we do
attention
this
off of that
in
game.
all these kind of different play styles, right? So
and everyone's going to be buying
perhaps,
Cyberpunk.
You know, one way would be to, you know, convince a guard that would be
I
stationed
was
next to the
thinking
door,
that didn't look
just
like
let you
15 minutes
through,
at
right?
all. It could have been though. We'll see
through,
when they
like, sort of
upload
like
it
social
separately.
kind of,
Yeah.
path. Or you
we'll
could
see.
take the guy out.
Well, I mean, my
take,
stream's
I
been
don't know,
going
like
for
a pass
34
that would
minutes.
enable you to go
I
through the door
started
without actually
10 minutes
letting go of your gun. Maybe
before the
if
stream
you are invested
started.
as a melee character, it actually doesn't really matter to you. You just walk through the door and then punch the guy on the other hand side into like a
Wunderbex.
pile of blood.
Feel sorry for any game,
Or
Rip
maybe
Avenger.
as a kind of hacker type of character.
It's cool, but I think they should have showed more people who weren't at E3, if you know what I mean. All the stuff they showed was explained already by the press who saw the demo. Yeah, and I mean, that's a good point for sure. I'm just saying from my perspective, it was nice to hear that, but at the same time, I do wish they would have just showed the demo I watched, because it's not as fun for you guys to just have somebody describe it to you.
To the, you know, like a balcony and
After
then enter through the
Cyberpunk,
window
those months are
and,
fucked.
The list goes on and on with examples that we try to come up for this kind of
This game will probably change the gaming community standards indefinitely.
Especially
for
sort of
open
think
world,
about these levels, right? As you know,
create your own character
that the player
type
has to
games.
solve,
This is,
and
in my opinion, the
a lot
next
of
step.
different tools and possibilities
But again, I
to
haven't
solve
played it,
this
so I don't
issue
know.
or bypass it in their
But
own
I think it's
way.
definitely
And that
gonna,
is
like
how
you
we're
said, it's
hoping
gonna create
to
a bar.
really
It's gonna create a standard
create an
that you're gonna
experience for
want
the
to meet.
player that they feel inherently is their own, right? They came up
A
with
bar
a
that,
solution,
you know,
given the
Bethesda
systems
kept
that
setting
we
for a while there
gave
and then
them,
gave up.
and they really get to feel like the badass Cyberpunk V that we want them to feel like.
I should have Super
It's
Chat
actually also a lot of fun
on
to
YouTube.
work on this from a story perspective, because,
think.
you know, as an example on the Wild Hunt, we were already working with very non-linear stories, but now we
Unless
also
it got
have this
turned off after
non-linear
the
gameplay
Ubisoft
approach.
thing.
And for us, it was always really important to have these choices.
I'm gonna have to
and
reactivate it.
consequences.
I'm
so
not
we
sure.
did them in the story. You know, anything should matter somehow. But now we can also say, okay, players have all of these different choices to solve a situation. So of course, there should also sometimes be some consequences, and not just on the gameplay side, how you solve it, but of course, you know, the story should react to it. Do I just run into this room and kill a few guys, or do I, you know, choose a super different approach? Sometimes this can now open up a completely new way to go through a quest. So, you know, it actually, I think it added to this whole layer of non-linearity. It added quite a few, let's say, more things we have to do. But the thing is, it is a challenge for us, but it's actually a really fun challenge. It's actually really cool.
Oh, shit. Thank you, Jeremy. What the fuck?
Ideas. And the thing is also, our quests are iterated upon a lot.
Didn't
so as an
show
example,
up.
you know, quest designers, of course, we
It
play
doesn't.
them
I don't think it's going to show up in this chat. It's going to show up on
Directors
YouTube.
play them, and also, you know, most importantly, QA plays our quests a lot, and our QA team has really, really good ideas.
'Cause, yeah,
so, you know,
I have
they
it
always think,
right
okay, what do I think
here.
right now? What would I want to do in this situation? And then we often communicate, and this is how some of the best ideas are actually created, just through going through these missions over and over again, and always finding some new ways to approach them, and some new ways to, you know, find
did you just donate
interesting
again?
consequences, what to happen afterwards.
Yeah, and that I think sort of ties up with a whole philosophy of a game, which is the freedom. And we have a freedom on the story
Jesus Christ,
layer,
okay,
and
Jeremy,
maybe
thank
I don't
you.
want to talk about it
I appreciate
too
it a
much,
lot.
and not to spoil it, but but it ties up
Daddy
with the
Warbucks
gameplay
over here
very
just
well,
dropping
with like
money.
the way how the levels are constructed. And
Jeremy
the
said,
branching
just want to
gameplay
show
is sort of just
support,
explained, because
which I
player
very
has
much
freedom
appreciate.
playing
Thank
the
you,
game.
Jeremy.
Build your character the way you want.
Even without
you
the money
play the way you
donation, you're one of my
and you want the
favorites.
player to feel this choice, you know, that he's doing depending of, you know, how skills he's assigning.
Fucking
what
A,
weapons
thank you, Jeremy.
he or she is
Very
picking,
much
and
appreciated.
all that, and it all comes together as like, you know, fulfilling this ultimate like cyberpunk fantasy.
So in the demo, we obviously saw the bike. There was a little mention of the heavy armor car, but can you tell us a little bit more about the kinds of vehicles that will be in Cyberpunk 2077?
I can tell you a
Yeah, I
little
wonder if
bit
there's a way to
about
get-
it. So, there's of course many different kinds of vehicles, because we want to create a
wonder if
real
there's a way to get
open
Super Chat
city,
shown
you know,
on
city that makes sense
Restream.
in the year 2077. So there will be all kinds of vehicles, and of course there's also, you know, society is very different. So, you know, we also have different art styles that correspond with the different parts of society. So we have the art
Well,
style
I'm
called
glad, Jeremy. Thank you.
entropy.
And again,
so
thank
as an
you for the
example, you might see
donation. That
vehicles
was
that are
absolutely
just very useful.
appreciated.
They're made to just
but
bring a
not
person
expected.
from A to B,
Very much
or, you know, they're
appreciated.
made to do a job. And of course, but, you know, the player can choose to have them as well, especially if, you know, the player
I don't
might not
even know
have
what
that
happens
much,
at this point.
money
Like,
yet.
we don't get donations,
But there's
so
also,
like,
you
I don't know
super
where that
luxury,
goes and how it's
high-end
fucking
vehicles on the
claimed,
other
but
side
we'll
of the
figure it
coin.
out.
So of course, you know, you
This
as
will be a learning
player are only
experience.
limited by what you can afford.
That's like real life.
Yeah, it's, life is like
That's what we
Cyberpunk.
strive for.
But yeah, you know, we try to strive for variety. So, you know, we also looked like, what are the kinds of vehicles players would want to have in a Cyberpunk game? So, you know, we don't just have cars, we of course also have bikes, like our very own Yaiba Kusanagi here, one of my favorites. It's a very, very cool bike. And there's
Yeah,
some,
it sucks
let's
because
say,
in the
surprise
gameplay,
vehicles,
he took a
that
little
are
bit more
still
time
to be
getting near
seen in
the
Cyberpunk that I
motorcycle. He
don't
went
wanna
around to
spoil
the
here.
left side of it,
But, I
and
would
it
say
does this like
something,
cool like
very special that's also
transforming,
dear to my
like the
heart.
handles come out and stuff. It's pretty neat.
Now I'm really intrigued.
But of course, also, let's say the super highest echelon of people in Night City, they also have access to AVs. So
honestly, my
flying
first
cars,
donation I've ever
which is
made.
something
Well,
that
thank
you. As
you.
a player,
That's
you're
awesome.
not part of that world, but
I'm honored.
through specific
I want
story
to sub,
moments, you
but
might
I've never
get to,
done that
ride
either,
in
so I'm
them
not 100%
sometimes.
sure
So,
how.
We want to give
Sub
you a
on
few different
YouTube?
experiences.
I don't know how that
But,
works.
Yeah, you can also, of course,
I don't
you
know
know,
if I
you
have that
your
set up or not.
garage where your apartment is, so you can also have your own vehicle that you store, that you can call to yourself. So you know, you can't call your vehicle Roach if you want to. It's all up to you, but it will be your very own.
Roach.
I wonder how many of these cars are going to be called Roach now that you've mentioned it. So
probably
Night
a
City
lot.
is massive, and that's like a point we're really trying to make. It's a huge, huge city. And you kind of want people to explore it by foot, right? You could just walk like from point A to point B if that's what you want, or drive.
You
in
could,
games
but
like this,
probably you would get pretty tired because it's a pretty big place, so you will have to walk a lot.
I love
So
driving games,
the thing
obviously,
is,
but I always
you know,
like to get out
we
and
do
walk
not
around
have
too,
loading
just kind
screens
of
while
like
exploring the city. It's a
take
completely
in everything.
seamless place. You can go, you know, wherever you want, and of course, Night City is a very dense place, so there's lots to see on your way. But the thing is,
Yeah,
also,
I was
you know,
wondering about that.
as
I'm not
with all
sure how
things,
that
You want to give
works.
players a choice. So
But
of course,
again,
there's
I
the
was
option to
surprised I got
fast
super
travel.
chat. So
But the thing
I
is,
think that
actually, the
happens
way
at
we're
1,000
designing the
subs.
city,
So.
we actually kind of feel like, even when we're playing it ourselves, that fast travel is often just. When I play the game, I don't want to fast travel. I want to explore the city because we actually try to give you so many.
I did humor
interesting
at one
things.
point,
so many
creating
places
like
that tell
a
story
fucking
that look
Patreon or
interesting, where they
something,
have
but at the
something
same
to do,
time, I
where
don't
you
like
can
their.
interact with things that
I don't like the way they
there's
run their
just
business, but
something new for you
also
at
I
every
don't want
corner. So
to
I
have a
personally don't
paywall
fast
for
travel a
content
lot.
for people
I just
who watch
drive
the
my
channel.
bike and I put on some
So,
nice music.
that
and I
was
have
kind of
good
a hard
time.
thing for
but
me to
of course,
figure
you know,
out
it's possible.
or
And the
think
thing
about.
is also, we actually have proper city planners working here that actually are planning out Night City and you know how the traffic would work in that city and how it would actually make the most sense.
Surprisingly, I've
how a city
seen
like that would actually grow.
not a lot of people, but
and,
more
you know, how
than
it
you would
flow,
assume
how
talking
the
shit about
traffic
this
would
game.
flow
So a lot of
through
people are
there.
like,
So
oh,
it's
it's
actually really
overrated.
interesting to also just have that part of game development now as part of Cyberpunk 2077 because this will be very important for how people actually get to explore it themselves.
To make the city feel alive.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so in The Witcher, everybody who's played The Witcher knows those question marks on the map, those points of interest. You dreamt about them when you were at work, you just thought about them. You can't walk past them. So what will we be sort of looking at for Cyberpunk? You know, what are those things that are going to be all-consuming us, so we are probably not paying attention to the main story? We're going to be like, oh, I've got to go do that first, and I can't go and do this until I've done that one over there. What will we be finding?
So in Night City, you actually really want to tie it into the world. So as an example, most districts have a so-called fixer. Like you might know from our gameplay demo from a year ago, there's Dexter Deshawn. And people like this, they can give you jobs that also fit the specific district you're in. So when you enter a district, then you're kind of known as a mercenary who's doing certain things for money. Fixers might contact you and they have some jobs for you. And then these jobs, as an example, they can be street stories. And they show up on your map, and you get an icon, so okay, this is this kind of street story. And we always want to put some interesting story to them, because after Wild Hunt, we actually founded a completely new team, the Open World team, which is actually creating some amazing content to actually fill this world with things that are
They
meaningful.
said they're not doing flying
so,
vehicles.
We actually want to make this that you can do
so
many
I don't think there
also
will be unless
smaller
it's a
things around the
surprise.
city, but they're actually all
originally
cool and
they
unique in
wanted
their own
to.
way.
They had job
And
listings
one
for people
cool thing
to
is
design
also, of
flying
course, they
vehicles,
appear
and then
on
they
your
said it
map,
was technically
but the
too
map in the game is
difficult
actually
to implement
properly
into the game.
immersive. It's that really,
So probably
really
not.
cool
I mean, they said they're not
looking
going to have
point
them for that
cloud
reason,
version of
but
Night City, and
we'll
you can see the
Um,
tasks from your
side missions
fixer
in
there.
The Witcher
But the
were like
cool
full
thing is
games.
actually
No,
'cause,
yeah,
you're
I-
a character in Cyberpunk.
It's
you're
always
and
one
you
of the best
actually have
examples
this
I give
information, so it's
is
not just the player
Witcher
seeing
3
them,
when I talk about
it's
side
actually your
quests,
character
because I
seeing
actually
them as well, 'cause
liked
it's all part of
not
the
only
world.
the
So we wanna give
gameplay
you
but like the
this
stories of
full
the side
immersion.
quests. They're always really interesting.
Yeah, it's actually really cool for us that with the street
I don't know anything
stories
about
and all the
however
other
they
content,
keep
we're
alluding
essentially
that
sort of giving
there's
them,
cars,
like,
bikes,
almost our
and
Witcher
might
3
be other
side
things.
quest
So
treatment in the sense that
we'll see.
even simple tasks can be fun and exciting if we pack them up in a cool story.
I think this
and
game will
root
be
them
full of
in the world,
surprises,
right? We
'cause
can use
every time
these
I see
street
something on
stories
it, there's new
to
shit.
expand further on how life in Night City and the world of Cyberpunk in general works. And sometimes this might even be a better staging ground than the main story itself, right? Where just like, hey, let's see how everyday life works in this kind of aspect, from this perspective, in this scenario. And actually that's, again, like for us, that's a lot of fun. And it's a very exciting process. And I hope that when players play it at the end, that they will actually find that it sort of enriches their experience, because they always kind of have this impression like, hey, wow, no matter where I go, things are actually worked out, right? It's never just a simple sort of task of, hey, do things, like, but there's always a reason, there's always an understanding of why you're doing things. And even in those few scenarios where it might seem a bit more,
this is an interesting thing. So
you'll usually find that, you know,
Polish government gave CD Projekt Red a bunch of money with 4 stipulations if they accepted the money that they had to implement, because essentially they're investing in CD Projekt Red because it's investing in Poland, it's going to bring money in, it's creating jobs, all this sort of shit. So they have the system like that. But for them to take the money, which they did, they had to create a cinematic experience, an open world game with high quality realistic graphics. One other thing, I forgot what it was, and then multiplayer.
Can't wait to lose my life to them.
So it's really weird that was one of 4 pillars of what they had to accomplish with this game.
3 sort of origins.
They've already said they've worked on things with multiplayer and they're curious about it.
How do they actually
And I read recently that they said that multiplayer is not necessarily off the table, but it possibly could be added
I'll go
later.
into my 50-minute answer.
So it's really up in the air. But I've been intrigued by the like 4 pillars of what they need to accomplish with this game when they accepted that money. Ever since I heard about that, because it would seem weird to me that they would get to just ignore that
in a completely different way than other
unless they,
path,
you know,
and you
communicate with them and figure it out and shit. I don't know.
But you know a different people. You're in a completely different place in
they,
life.
They have talked about it. They have worked on it.
And your story slowly,
it did start out with that in mind. But they also said that they wanted to make a single player experience first and foremost. That's what the game will be. Multiplayer will be a second thought.
Now,
which I appreciate, because if they put a bunch of work into multiplayer and make the single player fucking mediocre, it kind of ruins the whole experience for everybody.
Associate yourself with like nomads. You can associate yourself with corporate people, or you
because
can
most people I've talked to aren't even really interested in multiplayer in this game. They just want a single player game, so they need to really work on that. I want multiplayer, but I'd like it to be a not a separate thing, but like not the main focus. Just like if they have it, they have it. They don't, they don't. But I would definitely play with somebody.
Any way he really wants.
You've already earned my pre-order from Witcher 3, CD Projekt. The one of few developers you can trust these days. Yeah, I agree. I've already pre-ordered the collector's edition with that motorcycle on the table.
So if you're a corpo and you know
I
how
don't pre-order stuff.
work, you know what are their normal
That's
methods,
great. I hope they do add it later
what's the deal with them, you actually can use this knowledge and
yeah, I
sometimes
agree.
get something
Well, I'm
more.
off to bed now. Have a good night or have a good day. It was very impressive. Well done. I hope to watch more soon. Thank you, Shapman. Is that how you say that? Shapman? Shapman?
It's something like the way how we to make
very
sure
much appreciate it. Have a good night, dude.
role
And
play
hopefully
their
I hear from
character,
you again
to
soon.
Become that person. And in the demo that we have shown in the recording, you can see this moment when you choose that character that you are becoming later. And the characters that you are meeting in the main story, they are also representing those different groups. So in the first demo a year ago, we have shown Meredith Stout. A person. She is a high-class corporate woman from Militech. She has a lot of power, also a lot of responsibility, and you are on her way. And you can see, you how that interaction looks like. So if when you're from corporation, maybe there's something that they do a bit more with her, and that goes also for others, for nomads and for street kids.
One of the nice things is actually also that you're not bound to stick,
so
let's say, with the
himself.
corporates or with the streets. So as an example, I can give an example. I started as a street kid the game, and I know I have my knowledge. But then I play through the story and I notice I kind of like these corporate characters. I like that life. So, I can just, betray the streets and snuggle up with the corporates. But, this is kind of the role-playing freedom we want to give. But, as always,
I like that you can't have that backstory but deviate from it.
So
a lot of games will kind of make your character live by that backstory.
Is used to the idea
whereas he's
of
saying that
assigning
he
attribute points to
kind of
create
changed
a
it
character.
up. Which
Now,
is really
in the deep dive video we just saw, we got a little glimpse of that screen. You could see the points and the different things. So help me understand how that works and how you gain those points.
That dude does believe wholly in his creation.
As a player, you build your character at the beginning, assigning those attribute points. And they define the core characteristics of your character. So how much body strength you have, or how much reflexes you have, or how cool you are. That's one of the interesting stats that we have, right? But then, as you have those attributes,
I'm gonna make my
you
guy
also
so fucking
have
cool.
skills. The skills
That's such a weird thing to say.
Bit more interesting proficiencies for you as a player.
Athletics, melee, engineering, sniper rifles, nerve, assassination, handguns, rifles, blades, hacking, intelligence, shotguns, and two-handed.
So this is a skill that allows the player
this guy's talking
to
like how I'm
survive in a
feeling.
really tough situation.
Yeah, no,
So
I'm not even trying to make fun of him. I feel it.
The cold blood skill kicks in thanks to your cool stat. It kicks in and gives you.
See, some developers when they talk are just
and then
like,
as a player, you can survive and so on. But then using that skill, so you sort of like use by learning, like using that skill, you can actually get better, pump up levels there, and you can get different perks. Now, what's interesting there, you can actually give completely different perks to the skill that you have. And here, I think I could use the example of the athletics attribute. So the athletics is a way for us to move dead bodies. So as a player, you can basically pick up the dead body that you have just basically killed.
Athletics is a way for us to move dead bodies.
And like stuff it into the fridge or in a trash bin. Now, as a player, you normally slow down when you're moving around with the bodies. But if you have added special perks to your athletic skill, you can now run with the dead body. So because you are more athletic, you can do that. And those are like 3 levels of complexity in our character.
So you have your skill tree, and then you can add perks to it?
You have the skills, and then you assign perks to it. And those 3 come together to allow you to create your own amazing character that you want to play.
A lot of people think this is maybe how cool you look, and it's all about the jacket you're wearing, but the cool stat is not style-based, is it?
Being a face hacker is going to be
being
interesting.
Cool is, of course, very important.
Yeah, for sure.
But the actual cool stat really means how cool you are under pressure, how much you have control over your body. So, are there people shooting at me and I'm holding my gun like that? Probably not very cool. So this is, this is the kind of thing that cool actually controls. But of course, if you want to play a character that's actually cool, you have your choices.
Too much talking, show gameplay.
You can wear your nice leather jacket.
They already showed the gameplay if you missed it, but it would be cool if they showed some more. Fuck this guy, I'm hyped to shit, but this is making me really want.
Might freak out on the
can't have it right now.
Yeah. Cool on the surface, but
too.
not so much when push comes to shove.
I mean, it's getting closer, but we still got a little bit of
So in the deep
weight.
dive, we saw a quick clip of the inventory screen. It looks like a proper old school RPG screen, with the little blocks of the system.
Inventory.
And I know the community wants to hear more about what they can expect. So tell us more, Miles.
Oh, I will.
I got stoked when I saw the fucking different types of clothes you could put on.
What I always say is, in Cyberpunk, the inventory screen is,
I swear there's going to be like 9 outfits or something.
Right? But most importantly, in Cyberpunk, it's where we also manage our style. And just as Philip just touched on, it's really important for us to be able, for you to be able to realize your character, and that, of course, comes in the character creation, but also the way you dress your character, right? We're pretty much aware that there's sort of this, in most RPGs, there's this common sort of disconnect between the stats on an item and the looks. While we can go into details here, let's just say we're aware of this sort of, conflict, I guess, of interest sometimes. So we're looking into how you would be able to make your character still look cool despite having the best stats of an item, right? Just goes to show that that is really important to us.
And of course, mod slots or
the whole role-playing aspect goes even further because we'll have some customization options not only for the way you look like, but also your guns, right? In the inventory, you will of course decide what kind of weaponry it is that your character uses to kill people with, or sneak into different bases, locations, because of course is also where we mention cyberware. And all of these little things brought together, again, they've sort of allow you to fulfill your sort of, what do you call it? Character fantasy. That's the word I was looking for.
In the inventory, yes, we're changing our clothes, we want to look super cool, but what about cyberware? Can we do anything with cyberware from the inventory screen?
Oh, yes. So imagine inventory screen, right? So if you see the player there, you have a slot. So normally in, like, let's say fantasy game, you would equip a armor, right? Or you would equip, I don't know, a leg piece or something. Like right now here, you can actually replace that with a cyberware, right? So you can get your legs replaced to your cyber legs, right? And those can give you different skills, like let's say double jump. But then as a player, you can upgrade actually those and let's say enhance them in a way that they give you something special to it. So for instance, you can actually make them jump in a way they do not emit that much sound, and they become like a really stealth tool. So because of that, you can traverse in a quiet way through the locations. So this is how you actually upgrade your character. You just go over your body and replace whatever you need. And in the lore, there are Reaper dogs who help you out with that when you have to install those core pieces of cyberware, like for instance the Raven control system that allows you to control the flathead. But there are also other pieces that you can do on your own. And on top of that, as a player, you can also find pieces, small pieces called shards. And those, if you slot into your slot, you can actually, they give you a power of a given cyberware so you can try it out. So as a player, you can experiment a bit, and see how it would be if I would have installed, some special piece of cyberware in my body. And that allows the player to, to see stuff, to figure it out, to build their
werewolf
character.
leg then.
Okay, so we know we can equip some of our cybernetic enhancements in the inventory, but where do we get them?
Honestly, very disappointed with this. There was way too many cuts and shit happening on the screen. Couldn't focus on anything. It was pretty fast-paced for sure.
Going to a so-called
I wish they would just show the full gameplay.
Or enhancing the cyberware.
It sounds awesome. So much customization. Yeah.
Some of it you'll
I'm actually really impressed with that.
as you adventure through Night City. Things like the Kuroshi Eye implant that we have, right? It's almost mandated on top of you because it's sort of like a core gameplay mechanic to be able to scan things and get additional information on certain circumstances. And of course, then we also have something we call the street cred system, right? So as you progress throughout the game, you will also unlock more street cred through your actions, and that will enable you to unlock more content in the game. That means, more vendors
your Wii
will
doll
open
from
up to
PlayStation
you,
Access?
more services will open up. People will have heard of you and are more willing to work with you. So there's actually multiple ways this affects your experience, and one of them being, like the cyberware that you have access to.
Cool.
At least somebody
Netrunner
likes her.
was
Fucking, we
featured
had
pretty
2
heavily
complaints
in
earlier.
the deep dive.
She was
Can
scary.
you give us a little bit more insight into some of the combat skills or abilities that come with the idea of building a Netrunner class?
Yeah, so I think using net running skills gives you lots of, let's say, opportunities to be very creative in how you play the game. So I can just give a few examples. So we have access points, and access points are, in the world of Cyberpunk, they can control all the different devices in the area, which of course as a Netrunner is pretty useful, because you can hack that access point, and if you successfully do that, you can now use quick hacks. You can actually, from a distance, take over different devices, like as an example, a camera. You can do many different things with it. Look through the camera and have a completely different view, or just, turn it off if it's in your way. And of course, you can take over a turret and make it fight for you, or you can do many different things. We also try to come up with nice custom things. So, depending on where you are, let's say if you're in a gym where there's some nice boxing robot, of course, maybe you can do some fun things with that. So I think as a Netrunner, it's always lots of fun to use different things. And as an example, if I would use lots of netrunning skills, it's also really useful to use lots of cool skills that make me really good at stealth, so I'm really under control. So Netrunner can be really good at also using distractions, like if there's a vending machine, just make it spit out some drinks, and then of course, some people might look after that. But the thing is, a Netrunner isn't, just a stealth character. There's also cool, aggressive netrunning abilities, because, we always want to give you the choice of how to play. So we have your nanowire cyberware, which is really good at hacking enemies from a distance and then actually taking over their cyberware. So, most people in this world have cyberware in their body, so just like access points, very good times for Netrunners. So you can then control that cyberware and also do some nice things, like, as an example, hack someone's cyberware in their hand and make them do some things they might not want to have happen to them. But the thing is also the nanowire, of course, it's a wire, it's nano, it's very, sharp, so you can also use it as a weapon or as a whip, and, the Netrunner can be very effective at using his skills in combat as well. So it's all just, your choice as a player.
What about, let's say, because this all sounds amazing, but let's say you want to do slightly non-lethal, because in the deep dive we did saw the Sasquatch at the end, there was an option. Do you want to put her out of misery, or do you want to let her live? So how do people play it, like a non-lethal playthrough?
They don't have that feature. This game fucking
sucks.
sucks.
Help you do that?
So that's basically a choice we made. We really said, okay, Cyberpunk, it is a very violent world, but you're role-playing your character. You can choose to play the whole game without killing a single person. And of course, we're always saying this should also have an effect on the story. So certain characters, in a quest might ask you, yeah, please do this thing for me, but don't make too much trouble. And of course, you don't get a game over if you do a thing that the character doesn't wanna. So, but the story will react to it. And we want to give you that choice, but of course, not only the Netrunner is able to do a non-lethal playthrough. Every player, however you want to skill your character, you're able to do it somehow. But of course, it also depends, where you are. Let's say if you're in some rundown ruin that doesn't have lots of netrunning abilities, of course, a Netrunner still has ways to do it, but he might not be able to use all of his netrunning skills. But another player who has skilled different ways now has a different experience. But it can happen vice versa. But what we always want to say, you can finish the whole game, you can finish the quests without killing a single person. Sometimes you just have to also, think about it. Because the thing is, Night City isn't a very peaceful place. So you can never play like a full pacifist who is never engaging in any kind of combat. Because, people will attack you sometimes, but you can choose to, not kill them. Because, like in real life, sometimes if there's attacks, you don't immediately kill everyone. You can solve situations in different ways.
Yeah, all right. One thing I'd actually like to add to that is that we're trying really hard to not actually punish players for the playstyle they chose to do, right? Whether it is that you're playing a lethal or non-lethal or like a more aggressive versus a more subtle kind of approach, while NPCs might sort of have certain wishes for you how to approach a situation, they will never outright punish you for not, sort of doing their wishes. Because we really want to give players as much freedom as possible, and punishing the players for certain actions like that, which is basically them choosing to play their character, would directly contradict this kind of idea that we're trying to set up in terms of role-playing fantasy.
There's nothing worse than like accidentally slipping on the trigger. You're like, I didn't mean to kill him, and then everything changes.
And as an example, you can also see a Sasquatch that we show in our demo. It's a really intense fight, but actually, if you choose, you can subvert that fight. You can maybe just, sneak around her and find a different solution. And then maybe, of course, you can get a consequence out of that, because now Sasquatch is still alive. So, the story is already different. So I think this opens up many different opportunities, not just for the gameplay, but also for us as storytellers.
But let's tell us a little bit more about the solo builds, because that was another build from in the deep dive. What kind of skills does that give someone then, as opposed to Netrunner?
I think that the most typical solo fantasies that our players have is to be a strong solo and to be fast solo. So be like
different.
I would say so.
Got that bling.
But you can also build any type of hybrid you want. But the strong one is the person who can shove people into the trash bins and so on, carry bodies, run with them. But you can also pick up the heavy guns, mounted to the turret and use it against the opponents. Like we have shown that in the recording for a moment. When V is just killing everything on her way with this very heavy gun, you of course cannot take it to your inventory and run around with everything with it everywhere. But this is the only I would say build that allows you to do that, right? So this is very, very special. However, if as a fast solo, you have access to lots of different traversing skills. So as a means of exploration, you can, for instance, do the double jump and access places that you would not have otherwise, right? You can also
I like how he's walking with a dude getting shot in the chest, and it's takedown or non-lethal takedown. I think he's getting lethally taken down,
you can be
no matter what
you choose. In a completely different ways, based on the stats that you have picked as a person.
Sounds really, really cool. I'm just going to run in, I think, and just punch everything until I get what I want, which is also like real life.
Yeah,
this game is so close to real life. It's quite incredible, actually.
It literally happens every day.
So we know we've talked about Netrunner and Solo, and we've shown both of them in our deep dive, but that's not just it, right? There are other builds. So, maybe tell us about Techie.
Yeah, so generally how we approach this kind of stuff is we have sort of thought, we're thinking of three sort of main
now you're getting too kinky,
of how
Jeremy.
you can play the game. That would be the Netrunner.
It went from just fun and playful, now you're getting fucking crazy.
As Pavel said, sort of branches into
let's shock him. Let's shock the guy making this game.
Brutish, strong solo character, and then there's the last one.
Make him know who the goddamn master and commander is.
It's just important for us to say that these are just archetypes that help us think about how players might
Yeah,
approach
that's a tricky one to say.
But of course, you'll be able to create any kind of hybrid and just pick the skills that you like in between.
For different people.
And the Techie, is sort of a more technically affiliated playstyle, right?
Star
Whereas
Trek
the
fans,
Netrunner
right? Techies
is the one that sort of manipulates devices that are active by hacking networks and taking over control. The Techie is actually the one that sort of dabbles with the hardware itself and cables and whatever drives machinery, all that stuff. And to add on top of that, we're actually layering our little buddy called Flathead, and he is what we call a spider bot, a kind of very sophisticated piece of military hardware
God, those
that
guys
the player will be able to use
creep me out.
when he chooses to invest into the Techie playstyle. And Flathead is an interesting one because he's a pretty, basically this autonomous robot that listens to your commands, and you can basically send out Flathead to do certain things for you, right? You might be able to send him out to manipulate certain devices, right? There might be, I don't know, let's come up with an example here. There is some sort of broken
Star Trek bunch of
lamp
bitches
or something,
in space.
or a broken gadget.
Bitch
You
Trek.
can see it with your scanner, right? And you might actually send Flathead to do a little bit of tweakage there to make that object fall down onto an enemy, right? Or other examples would be to use Flathead to directly engage with enemies. There's a certain customization.
I mean, people put GoPros on their dogs all the time. That's just like a future GoPro. You just have a insert in your head and you just fucking see what your dog's seeing at all times.
To their little robot buddy, right? And again, this is like a whole sort of layer, another layer of how you might play the game. And as I said earlier, with us thinking of the archetypes, it is one of the possible many
you missed the unless you didn't, I don't know, but they showed 15 minutes of gameplay earlier.
All three of these archetypes to really sort of be able to manipulate the game world and feel like, yeah, this world, if I look around, I see opportunities that suit me. You're maybe fantasizing to play as a sort of Terminator kind of character, right? We have our scanner, you look around,
some
see
of the footage that
they
showed at E3,
and how you
some
see
that they showed at Gamescom,
arise for
some
it
of
really
it was
just
new.
depends on what kind of
it was more like
character
snippets
you're
with
playing
like a
and what
guy
skills you have invested
explaining
in.
shit.
Okay, so we all stand Flathead. We know that Flathead is everything. But also let's talk about actual weapons. Let's talk about guns. What can we expect? So we saw a few.
Guts?
We saw the Militech turret being ripped out used as a machine gun. We saw the nanowires, but tell us a little bit more.
So our guns are divided into three main categories, right? There are smart guns that we have shown in a previous demo like a year ago. So basically they shoot like homing bullets that are following target. There are also tech weapons, and the tech weapons are those that have like additional capabilities to them that they for instance can pierce covers. And there are also power weapons, and power weapons are mainly focused on being a street grid weapons. So they basically have additional skills and capabilities connected to the fact they're reworked in some way. So for instance, those are like bursting shotguns and things like that. And we have put plenty of work to making sure that the weapons feel well and they have their weight. And there's lots of really cool examples that I can give here. For instance, there is a handgun that as you use it, it actually speeds up the bullets slowly.
Be right back.
And longer you use it, faster the bullets become, so they can do more things and they can do more damage. There is, for instance, like a class of the weapons for the handguns that has been created by a Russian company to fight cyborgs. And that weapon is able to heat up the bullet to the point that the bullet becomes almost like a melted plastic, and is done, for instance, so it can shoot off, cyborgs' arms and so on. So there's always like a small piece of story, wrapped up around the weapon, what that weapon does. And what's interesting here, I think, is that you can also use like a second firing mode for a weapon. And not all weapons have them, But some of them, if you use them in a specific way, let's say a tech rifle that we have shown in a previous demo, when you when you use it in a specific way, it changes its way, it like collapses together, and then it allows you to pierce up the covers and shoot through the walls and shoot the enemies like that. Or you can, bounce bullets off the walls, right, using the ricochet.
God damn it, talk about the brothels and strip clubs, like how you talk about the features.
Today, I have seen like awesome shotgun that is 8 barrels.
Not much to ask for,
and they shoot them in the same time. And it has like actually I think that players will love our gunplay, especially the way how the guns look and how they feel when you shoot them.
I'm so excited. That's, yeah. Shotguns, they're my favorite. 8 barrels, even better.
I think also something really cool to add to this is that, as you already touched on it, like all of these companies, these gun manufacturers and all that stuff, they actually, a lot of it comes from the actual lore, right? But we're also making sure that, there's a history to everything. That includes the brands and ads that we have in the game. We actually have like a whole team dedicated to just that kind of stuff. And again, it sort of is in line with our philosophy to make sure that everything is rooted in the world, has its reason why it is there, has its history. I think that's really sort of like the secret ingredient to make like a really believable world, that when the player actually goes in, that they have this impression like, yeah, this place exists, right? This feels alive. And I think that will make just the fact of simply walking through
the choker guy
like
touched
really,
on
really cool experience.
That choker.
So actually one of the cool things we also have is we have lots of different melee weapons. And it starts by very spontaneous ones. So let's say you find a broken bottle and you just use it, or you find a knife on the ground and you can use it to fight melee, or you can, as an example, throw it. But you can also specialize in melee weapons, because as we said earlier, maybe you want to play as a cyber ninja, and of course as a cyber ninja there's many different katanas that you can actually also specialize in getting really good at them. And there's even cyberware for melee, like the gorilla fists that can also be used to, be really strong and open doors. But if you're really strong, you can also hit people with it. But a cool thing is also using your melee weapons together with special cyberware. So as an example, my favorite cyberware that I always like to use is the Sandevistan. And essentially it slows down time for you because your reflexes get boosted. So now you have superhuman reflexes. And the way we show it is, of course, time slowing down for you as a player. So imagine you have your katana and you just go into a slide and then you can aim and like just go through, and it actually feels really cool. Like you feel like you have super control, but actually you can also see, as an example in the demo, how it feels like to be in the receiving end of cyberware like that, because the animals have reflex boosting cyberware as well. So actually sometimes when they're coming towards you in melee, they zip around really fast.
That's what that is.
Exactly, and this is how it actually feels for enemies when you have your slow-mo. This is how they see you moving around. So it can be pretty scary to also find someone who uses the same cyberware you use.
What about you two then? What are your favorite cyberwares that you've seen so far, that you can talk about so far before you get me in trouble?
Oh, I think that at least for me, I think those are gonna be mantis blades. I think that's the best one. We have shown how it looks for the player, how it feels when you use them. The way you can chop off heads and so on. It's something of it's very poetic, I would say. Yeah, and in other cyberware, I think that I would like it's more story related. It's Mr. Stud. I will let our players to figure it out what it does for those who know the lore a bit.
For me, Philip already took it away by taking the strong arms earlier and the Sandevistan, so a bit of a greedy dude over there. No, but so I guess technically the cyber deck is a piece of cyberware, right? That's the one that actually allows you to breach into networks, take over control, and use all that hacking magic on all kinds of enemies, right? Like in the gameplay, we show how you can not only manipulate this training robot.
Yo, I just checked some other streams. Young
like the bench press
I forgot how they say that guy's last name. Chat is retarded.
It goes even further than that, right? If you combine that with, like for example, the nanowires, but also you can do it from closer up. You can actually breach into like a squad's internal network by hacking directly into the personal links of enemies. And once you're in the squad network, you can actually use what we call daemon software, and to essentially quick hack the cyberware that is attached to people's bodies, right? So imagine a scenario where, you know, you're a Netrunner kind of character, you're sneaking through, but then things get hot, right? So now you find yourself in a combat situation. Luckily, of course, you come prepared. You already foresaw that things might go wrong because you're a skilled Netrunner after all. So you already breached into the squad's internal network. Now, these enemies start swarming you, and what do? Of course, you start using your scanner. Then you look at these guys and you realize, hey, I breached the security, so I can now upload my virus software into these guys to make them do things that they don't necessarily want. You might hack their cybernetic
There's much
hand,
stuff to say about this game because
to force them to pull the pin on a grenade they have at their grenade belt.
Waking up at 6
setting
a.m.
him to
fucking me
a
up.
fiery and explosive, but spectacularly looking death.
For instance, you listen to like Ubisoft talk about
one that you can actually use to
Legion, right?
Basically,
all they talk
make
about is the new system.
Finish themselves off,
You're gonna
right?
play
They'll
all
shut
these random
themselves
NPCs. They'll have their own stats.
And it's
That's why
actually
they keep
cool because
talking,
you sort of see them
that's the
struggling
thing
with
it
their
does.
hand as well. So it's
That's the
like
thing that game
it
does.
really
This,
sells
there's
the
going on
fantasy of
about
what you're
all
doing,
these fucking
right?
features.
And you're basically becoming this
I'm just like,
cybernetic
holy
god
shit.
as soon as you take over.
It's almost
network.
helping me get more
And,
fucking tired.
It really is
Just
something
listening to
that
this guy talk forever.
feels so different from the other
It's interesting,
playstyles,
but Jesus
that we
Christ,
have. And,
there's a
and
lot.
I really like the sort of level of
Wow,
variety that
Mr.
we
Stud,
offer
a sexual
players,
implant in game.
when it comes to that. And I think that ultimately, and pardon me for being a bit buzzworthy about this, but like this will really make each playthrough very unique to players, right? Not only the way you play it, the way you interact with the world, the way you talk to people, all that kind of stuff. Like, if you look at all the little choices that accumulate through the game, no playthrough will basically be like another. And inherently, they will also feel very differently depending on what kind of character you want to play.
So many planets, they'll all be unique, and they'll have their own life on them. They'll be all super unique and interesting, and you'll be able to have your own adventure in
cyber
space.
deck, because otherwise you could not be a Netrunner. And then I think I've mentioned before in another video of sorts that I really, really like our nanowires, which go hand in hand sort of with this net running playstyle. I guess you can see where my personal preferences lie. Don't worry, it does not affect my designs. I try to be balanced.
I'll look directly into the camera, it's fucking weirding me out.
You know, like whereas the regular Netrunner can sort of breach into a squad network by sort of taking an enemy out and having an extra option to breach into their squad's network. The nanowires actually allow you to do this from a distance or from a safe spot, right? And they can also be used to slice people into bite-sized pieces. So again, as Philip said much earlier, if I remember correctly, we've been doing this for a bit. There's actually, you know, no playstyle that is sort of meant to be played in a certain way. Right, we don't go, okay, the hacker kind of character, he's the stealthy guy, he needs to operate from the shadows, whereas the solo type, he's the one that, you know, just goes out and
Stream
shoots
looks all
everyone.
shitty
No,
all
you
of a
can
sudden.
actually still, within these playstyles, choose how you play the kind of character, lethal, non-lethal, stealthy, and non-stealthy, and we just give you the tools in all playstyles to do whatever you want with it, right? So if you want to be a combat Netrunner, if you will, that likes to use gunfire and, you know, making people blow themselves up, sure, go do that. But you can also do it in a stealthy approach. It really lies in the player's hands.
Oh yeah, 3-day weekend this weekend too.
So let's say I've got my 8-barrel shotgun.
So excited.
It's my favorite gun. I love it. What can I do to it? Can I customize it? Is it moddable? Are there any options for, you know, really making something special and one of a kind?
So I think we can say that there are like two major ways what you can do, how you can customize your guns. One way is customizing the visuals, and those are different skins and like paint overs, paint jobs
You can do that?
you can have on your gun, just to make sure that, you know, when you're a Cupid, that your rifle is pink or purple, you know, if you really want it. But then there's the second way how you can customize it. It's a different sort of attachments that you can have. You can have silencers, you know, you can have like a sniper rifle zoom on the gun. You also can boost up the stats of the given weapon. So in that way, you can basically make it more efficient. So you can make it to look the way you want, and you can make it to shoot the way you want.
I think, Miles, you've mentioned this before, that also changes the animation, right? As it progresses, you can change the way it looks as you reload and things like that.
Yeah, so basically the more you use your guns, who figures, the better you become at shooting them, right? You might start as a complete amateur, like I would be with shooting a gun.
Good to know.
But yeah, I'm not a very good shot. And the better you become with it, you know, that actually affects your way of handling a gun. So, you know, your crosshair might become
this game is
smaller,
my fucking
indicating
beat,
that
dude. I
your
love it.
accuracy increases ever so slightly,
Dude,
and that
I love
will
it.
also sort of influence the way your animation looks like. Your reload speed will be faster and all that stuff. So you actually really get this sense of progression and your character evolving as you play the game. And yeah, I think that's pretty special sort of experience if you combine it with the way, you know, that you can customize your guns, man, and kind of really have this feeling that, yeah, this is my signature gun, right? And I'm really good with it.
Right, guys, thank you so much. I know there is one thing we haven't talked about from the demo, and that is a little bit more about the gangs. We spoke about the Voodoo Boys a bit, but we haven't even really spoken about the animals.
Feel like
and
your
I know
experience.
you guys know everything about Cyberpunk. I thought I'd actually throw out to maybe the Godfather himself. So I caught up with Mike Pondsmith at Gamescom to ask him,
I'm buying a
who
PC.
are the Voodoo
Well, actually,
Boys
I've already
and
bought it
who
now
are
on
the
PS4.
animals?
I haven't pre-ordered, but I'll be buying it again
My
on
name is Mike
PC.
Pondsmith, and I'm the guy who killed your Cyberpunk characters. And today, I'm going to talk to you about two very important things. I'm going to talk to you about animals, and I'm going to talk to you about the Voodoo Boys. So, let's take the Voodoo Boys. When I created them many, many years ago,
Where can I get those
I
sunglasses?
was looking at kind of a really interesting idea, which is what we would now call cultural appropriation. What happens when somebody comes in and tries to adopt a culture that they know little or nothing about and does it really badly? But one of the great things about having a few years is that you get a chance to do some redos. And one of the best ones is what we have with Voodoo Boys now. The Voodoo Boys in 2077 are really Voodoo Boys. They inherited the name, but it was sort of a natural fit. They were coming from Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and they were the real thing. And they managed to take a lot of the elements of their original culture and meld it into the world of 2077, to bring that cyberpunk vibe into a very old and respected culture. So they're a gang, but they're not really. They're more of a cultural phenomenon. They're more a way of cultural exploration. And I think it's really cool because it shows us a side of the cyberpunk future that we normally wouldn't see. On the other hand, they're the animals. Way, way back in my dark, dank past, I used to lift. Don't anymore, but I used to. And I would see guys like the animals in the gym I went to. Guys who lived to get strong, and get really strong, and get really strong. The animals are like those guys. They're in it to basically build themselves up and become the tigers of their particular urban jungle. They want to be big, they want to be bad, and they want you to fear them just because they exist. And you know, it's really easy to fear a guy who blots out the sun when he walks by you. But the animals are very simple. They have an ethos: get big, lift, get strong, lift. So unlike the Voodoo Boys, who have a culture, the animals have a thing. And contrasting that is interesting, because in 2077, you get a chance to see that not every gang is the same as every other gang, and what motivates them depends on the people you meet on the street. Check it out. This is Mike Pondsmith saying, I'm still here to kill your Cyberpunk character.
We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Cyberpunk 2077. Now, don't forget, you can join us on Twitter, Facebook, forums, and even join us on Discord to make sure you stay up to date on all of our news. Cyberpunk 2077 is launching April 16th, 2020, and is available for pre-order now. On behalf of everybody working on Cyberpunk and here at CD Projekt Red, we thank you for watching, your ongoing support, and we can't wait for you to explore Night City.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. You'd release it right now if you really thought that. All right. Just to touch on the PC thing, I'm definitely picking this up on PC. Merci, orange hair lady. Definitely pick this up on PC, but the pre-order I got for the collector's editions for PS4 because it's the only one I could fucking get my my hands on, I guess. Because once they went up, I was like, ah, shit, I need to get one of those before they're gone. So yeah, it's definitely a game I'll be buying twice. Like Monster Hunter World, I have 2 copies of that. And yeah, overall, oh god, no, IGN, shut up, go away. Let's leave it on Mike Pondsmith. Overall though, I know some people have expressed that they're disappointed with this. I liked it overall. I thought it was really good. It was very fast and to the point. I liked the info, and specifically I liked the lore a lot. What they showed though is pretty much a lot of the stuff I already saw. I wish you guys could have saw more of that. Some of the stuff that was new, I didn't see that at all, which is very cool to see. That fucking internet world she went into was very cool. And yeah, the discussion was good, even though it started kind of wearing on me. I got a little tired fucking listening to them talk forever about that. But yeah, a lot of really cool stuff there. A lot of things confirmed, like weapon customization and having input on getting better with guns, which is very cool to hear. Even putting skins on your guns is very cool to hear. So, really excited for that. Yeah, what'd you guys think? In the comments, let me know. Yeah, well, if you were disappointed, why were you disappointed? Because I mean, I get it, but I'd like to hear your opinions on that. Holy shit. I gotta stand up. I'm going crazy. Yeah, saw a lot of really cool shit there. Very happy with it for the most part. Gun stat boosters as well. Yeah, gun stat boosters, which is also really cool to hear. Also, it's nice to see inventory, you know, in a more, you know, intended way, and to hear about it. It's nice to see different clothing options. That gives me hope that I will be able to dress my person in all sorts of fucking different ways. And fuck, there's something else I saw in there. The skill tree. Hearing about the skill tree and seeing it was really cool. Also having essentially like 3 like pillars that all go into your character's build is really cool to hear. Your perks, your attributes. And what was the third one? It's like there's like the initial skill tree, but yeah, all 3 of those together, you'll be able to create something, you know, augment your character and change out their legs to get, you know, whatever you're trying to accomplish done. They made it sound like you just go in like Legos and just pop the leg off and put it in, but which I'm sure, you know, gameplay wise it will be like that, but it's just funny to hear it in that sense when I'm thinking like you gotta fucking chop this dude's leg off and reattach a new one. I'm thinking about the healing process of that. That would take months. At God of Earth 95 is now following. Thank you for the follow. I need to check my Mixer shit because I don't know anything about Mixer. But yeah, very cool stuff. Also, I loved hearing about the almost like lost AI of the internet. The thing they're talking about with the net watch and stuff. They're trying to like protect everybody from that. And the Voodoo Boys are like trying to get fucking in with it. It's very cool. New Cyberpunk was good enough for. There's still that new Monster Hunter. Are you talking about Monster Hunter World trailer? Yeah, I gotta do that at a separate video. Although, I don't got the time for it, but I will do a reaction video to that soon. Cause I gotta start getting ready for work, which sucks. Oh, and I gotta stretch. Hashtag Cyberpunk 2077 Hype. Oh yeah, another thing too that I thought was really cool that they kind of mentioned in there was that you know, there's the three kind of like decisions you make to kind of give your character some kind of backstory, which has been done in many games before, but a lot of times it's only kind of like a dialogue tree type thing. It more so is like, you know, every once in a while you guys like, oh, I grew up poor, like a fucking street urchin, and like it's just kind of like more like for lore, but like how they were kind of describing, it gives you completely different dialogue options depending on your backstory, and then you can kind of deviate from it, which is really cool because, like I said, a lot of times it's almost like an archetypical thing that you select. Like your person will be like dictated by their backstory, and they're gonna always kind of fit that format. Whereas that guy was saying, like, you know, he grew up on the streets, but then liked the corporate life and kind of like moved away from that, and that's cool because any good story has a character arc, something that makes that character grow in some way, and to be able to do that in gameplay is pretty crazy. I can't really think of a whole lot of games that do stuff like that, so very cool. I mean, the only games I can really, and it's not the same at all, but like, you know, when I think of like deeper RPG experiences of recent time, I think of like Divinity and Divinity 2. Old backstories were flavor text. Now it's life choice that can be changed through dialogue choices. Yeah, exactly. So it is cool that they're putting that much thought into how that will affect the gameplay. Real quick before we, how long was this? Was it actually 15 minutes? Start at 1:12. An hour 12. Yeah, it's about 14-15 minutes long. I know some people were skeptical on how long it was. I also love how dynamic it seems like every mission, and it wouldn't be no surprise for CD Projekt Red to do this, but it seems like every mission, or at least main mission, is going to be very different feeling, which is very cool. Like that dude in his dialogue, and he's like seeing through what you're seeing and stuff like that. I don't feel like that's going to be like a common thing with every mission, so it'll give it a certain flavor that you're not getting. But they're already really good at that, so I wouldn't be surprised. Street Kid. Alright, I gotta start thinking about closing this out. So, I'm gonna throw it back to you guys. I'll give you guys like a couple more minutes if there's anything you want to throw out there about what you thought of this. But if you're watching this after the fact, you watched this after I live streamed, first off, you should go follow me on Twitch at Tasty Senpai, all one word. You should check me out on Mixer at 9while9, all one word. Or YouTube, Tasty Loot Gaming, if you want to catch these streams live. But yeah, what did you think of this presentation? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Were you disappointed? Do you love everything that you saw? Did you enjoy any of the information? What was your favorite thing about this? And yeah, let's see. Sorry if I sounded weird. Missed some words here and there. Oh no, you're good. I don't care. I pretty much. I mean, the only reason I ever kind of like slow down when I'm going through reading someone's thing is because sometimes my brain, well, sometimes, all the time, my brain's going like 1,000 miles a minute, so I want to make sure I'm reading it correctly and trying to interpret it. So sometimes I can read something too fast and be like, oh, I fucked up. Definitely loved what I saw, though. It was just so little. It was, and it felt really short. Maybe it felt less than 15 minutes because of the narrator talking through it. I think because there was that build-up. There's a lot of like them describing what we were about to see, kind of explaining the setting, the characters, the gangs, shit like that. And then we finally saw the gameplay, and it's like snippets of like the full gameplay that was originally shown. What edition are you getting? I've already pre-ordered the collector's edition for PS4, so I'll be getting that cool statue that's right there on the table. I'll be getting that and a bunch of other shit. I'm assuming stuff that's on this table. I'm not sure, but I'm getting that for PS4, and then I'm also going to buy for PC because I'm going to play it on PC. Jeremy says, I just want to play this shit. I agree 100%. Yeah. 15 minutes, though, can go by pretty quick. One thing I've learned doing, like, reaction videos on YouTube is a game that you're not that interested in can feel like it's taking forever when you're watching a video, but a game that you're really fucking into, or at least a really well done video that you're watching, can go by really fast. Because there's a bunch of times I've done react videos of like a 30-minute video, and I'm like, this is going to be a long video. And then like it's over, I'm like, wow, that was really fast. That's crazy. So it really, really depends on the interest and how well it's done. So that was 15 minutes long. And I agree, it felt pretty short to me. Hopefully TGS has some stuff from Cyberpunk to show. Yeah. I'd be curious, but it's been kind of weird because like E3, they did the behind the closed doors thing, which I think was weird. For 2 different demos, the one that we saw and then the one that the like IGN and GameSpot and shit saw, and they still haven't released that. And then there was rumors that they were going to show it at Gamescom, and they didn't show it. They showed that teaser of pretty much what we saw right now, and then they chose PAX to show this, and I haven't heard anything about TGS, so I don't know. They've been kind of weird about it, but yeah. I can't wait for Cyberpunk comes out. I get for Xbox One X. I'm sure it'll look really good on there. That's, yeah, I just recently got my second computer up and running, and it's a lot more powerful than my first one. And so, you know, like I said, I pre-ordered on PS4 to make sure I get that collector's edition. I just wanted to lock it in. And I'll probably put that game up on my shelf, and then I'm going to buy it on PC because this PC will be able to run that game, I'm sure, at max graphics. So, and I definitely want to play that game as good looking as possible. Hey, yo, can you search me up? What's up, Zorg Studios? Isn't that the dude from Fifth Element, Emmanuel Zorg? Anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna get on both. I'm sure it's gonna be great on everything though, although I'm really curious to see what the highest end of the graphics of that game will look versus the lower end, because I feel like there will be a pretty big difference, because that game's gonna look great on console for sure, but I know on PC it's gonna look a lot better because I've seen gameplay so far, and every time I see it, like the first time we saw it looked really fucking good. I don't think you're getting that on console, at least this gen. Next gen probably, because the next gen consoles are gonna be able to do ray tracing, and let me tell you, my experience with fucking Control with ray tracing, it's fucking amazing. I finally understand ray tracing, and it's the future. Very exciting. It's always been kind of like a buzzword, but now I'm like, you can get crazy depth with effects, whereas before you'd have to render that and develop it in front of you. Now you have an engine that can perceive how far away it is. It's crazy. So, and if the next gen consoles can do that, that's really impressive. Anyway, I'm doing one of my Seth things and going off on a tangent. Guilty Tunic is now following. Thank you for the follow, Guilty Tunic. I don't even know how many followers I have on Mixer now, but I keep getting them, so that's cool. I'm getting them a lot faster than on Twitch. Thank you, Ninja. Is there a Mixer app? I need to download that. And yeah. So anyway, anything else you guys want to throw out there when it comes to Cyberpunk? Are you guys super fucking excited? I'm sure you are. And hopefully TGS hopefully we get something. I don't know. But we are getting closer and closer. You think... I'm wondering if like one of the last like trailers they'll show for this game is like going to be like the night setting, because they're really holding back on that. Yeah, the app is a bit buggy at the moment, but still good though. Yeah, if I'm going to be using it, I should be probably paying attention to what's happening on it, because the only interaction I have with Mixer is that I am streaming to it from restream.io. So Mixer, there it is. So far though, I've liked it. I just stayed away from it for a while because I was like, how are you gonna break into the streaming market when Twitch is so big? But now Twitch is like constantly in trouble, so with people, so it's a perfect time. And then they stole Ninja, and I'm like, they're making some moves. All right, guys. Well, I got to get ready for work. I got to cut this short. So again, real quick, if you're watching this on whatever platform you're watching this on, I'm on Mixer at 9well9. I'm on Twitch at Tasty Senpai. I'm on YouTube at Tasty Loot Gaming. That is my primary channel. We do 2 episodes every week at the very least of talking about gaming news, and a podcast where we talk about anything that we want. And that's always 2 episodes at the very least every week, so make sure to check that out. Subscribe, hit the notification buttons on all those things to know when I go live or when new episodes come out. And yeah, trying to stream more regularly too, which I think I've been doing. So hopefully I see you guys soon in the next stream. But until then, yeah, talk to you guys later, and take it easy. Which gender V will you choose? I will choose... whatever the closest to male gender V I can get. That's what I will choose, because I like to play the boys. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.